Yet their doctrines and basic beliefs are often vastly different. They do not teach about the same God, because each teaches that God has taught it truth which is different from all others. If that were not true, and they did believe the same, then wouldn't they be able to join together in the same faith, belief? 32. During World War II, how is it that priests of the Catholic Church blessed German and Italian soldiers who were going into war to kill Americans, who had themselves been blessed by their priests in the Catholic Church? How can such a thing be? Is there hypocrisy in such things? Does such a thing reflect a unified teaching, from one God, with those of the same faith? Obviously, this example does not fit the definition of a unified belief in one true doctrine from one true God. So what is the truth? Do you see the dilemma? Do you see why there is so much confusion? Can you begin to see how this affects your life? Patrick Cockburn's article, Iraq Stop Shia Cleric Warns of Genocidal War, was reported in the Independent News, 19 July 2005, and reveals the religious confusion surrounding the ongoing terrorism in Iraq. The slaughter of hundreds of civilians by suicide bombers shows that a genocidal war is threatening Iraq. Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani, the country's most influential Shia cleric, warned yesterday. So far he has persuaded most of his followers not to respond in kind against the Sunni, from whom the bombers are drawn, despite repeated massacres of Shia. But sectarian divisions between Shia and Sunni are deepening across Iraq after the killing of 18 children in the district of New Baghdad last week, and the death of 98 people caught by the explosion of a gas tanker in the market town of Musayyib. Many who died were visiting a Shia mosque. Against the wishes of the Grand Ayatollah, who has counseled restraint, some Shia have started retaliatory killings of members of the former regime, most of whom, but not all, are Sunni. Some carrying out the attacks, 33, appear to belong to the 12,000-strong paramilitary police commandos. This news article is certainly reflective of the confusion that exists in religion. Religious differences are at the core of festering distrust and hatreds that will soon erupt into world war. More will be given on this in another chapter. In 2002, an ongoing conflict of religious ideologies led up to the brink of all-out war between the nuclear powers of India and Pakistan. The conflict between Muslim and Hindu has manifested itself because of deeply held religious beliefs over the region of Kashmir. In this one area of the world alone, peace is fragile. Much of the world has been deeply concerned at what could happen if Pakistan were to lose President Musharraf as leader through an assassination attempt, and such attempts have already occurred. This is a nation in deep religious conflict with non-Muslim minorities and vastly differing Islamic ideologies. What about Iran and its growing nuclear hunger? Does religion influence this thirst for greater power that could ultimately be wielded in this world? And what will Israel's response be? One should not have to ask the question, does religion play a part in all this? What about the ever-present stress between Israel and the Muslim world that surrounds her? Jerusalem is far from being the city of peace that her name means. The world has always been filled with religious dilemma. Confusion has reigned in the hearts of men. Is there really a God of the earth? If so, which one is he? Who is right? Why is there such diversity and vastly opposing views of God among religious beliefs? Is God so small and so weak that he cannot make the truth known? You need to answer such questions. 34. Confusion in religion. It may not be easy for you to continue reading. You may recognize and readily agree to the confusion and deception that you see in the religious beliefs of others. But when it comes to what you believe, can you admit error when it is pointed out to you? Most people cannot, because interference with one's personal religious beliefs is more than they can bear. Most people simply cannot admit error in personally held religious beliefs. When people are in error, their deeply held prejudices make it nearly impossible for them to acknowledge that they have embraced lies from very early in life. We are now going to delve more deeply into the sacred realm of personally held religious beliefs. Questioning one's religious beliefs is highly offensive to most people. It was stated earlier that this book was not being written from any influence from any of the religions of this world. However, it is written from revelation from the one and only true God of all eternity. People in this world do not know their roots, true identity, or the true history of their existence. To Islam, Allah is God and this God is one. Allah is the Arabic word for God, and simply means the supreme and only God, the Creator, who according to the Quran is the same as the God of the Bible, the God of Abraham. Those of Judaism believe that God is one, but call him by the Hebrew words of El and Yahweh. Both Islam and Judaism share the truth, that the one true God is the God of Abraham, but other understanding has become deeply clouded over the centuries. Different languages do not alter the truth. If anyone refers to the one true God of eternity, who was the Allah of Abraham or the El of Abraham, then they are referring to the same one true God, the creator of all the universe. Both peoples have their roots in the God of Abraham, who is the one and only true eternal God. There is no other eternal living 35 God. So why are their beliefs so different, when both recognize they have sprung from Abraham, and proclaim they follow the same God of Abraham? Why such confusion and bitterness toward one another? This is a centuries-old story. Abraham and Sarah were promised a son through whom God would work, but as Abram, grew old and Sarah was beyond age to conceive, the time seemed to have passed them by for any possibility to have a son. So they agreed that Sarah's handmaid, Hagar, an Egyptian, could give Abraham a son. The story is found in Genesis 16 in the Bible. Sarah actually gave her handmaid to Abraham to be his wife, but when Hagar conceived, her attitude changed, and she began to despise Sarah. With Abraham's permission, Sarah confronted her handmaid, and as a result of this harsh confrontation, Hagar fled into the wilderness. You need to know what happened next, because the events that followed laid the groundwork for two great religions in the world. These two religions carried deeply held bitterness and envying with them from that time forward, and it has existed through the ages. A messenger of God came to Hagar by a fountain of water in the wilderness of Shur and asked, "From where do you come, and where will you now go?" She explained that she had fled from her mistress, Sarah, but the messenger of God replied to her, "Return to your mistress, and submit yourself unto her hands." The messenger then continued with God's instruction for her, "I will multiply your seed exceedingly, that it shall not be able to be numbered, because of such multitude of people." The messenger added, "Behold, you are with child, and you shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, meaning, God shall hear right bracket, because the Eternal One has heard your affliction." Although Hagar went back to Sarah, the messenger said, the rift between the two women continued, and since then, the same 36 spirit has been passed along. It is one of envy, distrust, competition, pride, jealousy, and bitterness. This spirit has literally been passed on from generation to generation through both peoples. Islam sprang out of Abraham through Hagar. Since God's word is true, the descendants of Hagar, through Ishmael, have become great on the earth. It is impossible to make an exact count of every descendant, because they cover such a vast region throughout the Middle East and other areas of the world. Today, these same descendants have grown into greater power and influence, because of the abundance of oil they have been blessed to possess. Due to oil, the world has given them more recognition. It is a shame that such a thing has to happen before others finally begin to show the consideration and respect they should have shown all along. Men can truly be cruel to man. These descendants of Abraham, through Hagar, know that the audience they have received from the Western world is not very genuine, but only the result of the world's reliance on oil. Mankind is a very selfish creature. These attitudes in the world are the reason why much of the world of Islam has turned to deep resentment and bitterness, especially toward the Western world. It is easy to understand, if you're willing to admit it, but on the other hand, it does not justify jihad against others. Yes, there is deep-rooted bitterness, and understandably so, but if people want to truly make peace, then they must learn to submit to the will of God.